Perfect. Well, welcome everybody to our Planning Commission meeting. It's for August 27th. We're excited to have a soon-to-be new commission member. Welcome, Dane. And we're just going to start off with any declaration of conflict of interest. No? Seeing none? So we are going to go ahead and move to that oath of office for Dane.
All right. You ready? Come on up. Okay. So Dane Money is our new, well, hopefully if he does this oath of office correctly, this is a test to see if you can do it.
I am dyslexic, so I'm going to mess up half those words.
This will go really fun. Okay, stand in the square.
All right.
I, Dane Money,
I, Dane Money,
having been appointed to the office of Kaysville City Planning Commission member,
having been appointed to the office of Kaysville City Planning Commission member,
do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support,
do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support,
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Awesome. I'm saying right there. It's official, right there with the official signing pen. That's your copy and there's mine. It's a white reader for you.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah.
All right, come on up. Welcome, Dane.
I've got a plaque ordered, so it will be here for you.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Okay.
Our next item on the agenda is our conditional use permit for a major B home occupation for Natalie, oh, wait, spelled that wrong, Whittier at Garden Gate Preschool. She is the owner of Garden Gate Preschool. She lives at 433 North, 300 East, and there was a sign put on her property on I put it on Monday morning, so her neighbors have all been well informed of the preschool going in at her home. She proposes to operate a small preschool from her residence, and it will operate Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. with approximately 8 to 9 students. She's indicated that parents will utilize, so here is where we're located, close to Crestwood Road, her home, and then this is her proposed pickup and drop off. They will use the driveway, and pickup should be managed so vehicles do not block neighboring driveways, mailboxes, and sidewalks. She plans to be the only employee of the preschool, and therefore the business will not generate additional daily traffic. Staff is recommending approval for the conditional use permit for Natalie to operate Garden Gate Preschool, a major home occupation B at 433 North, 300 East, subject to conditions placed or outlined in our Kaysville City Code. Natalie said that she's had lots of neighbors reach out to her in regards to the sign, or she's seen them drive by, but we've not received any phone calls or emails, or there's not been any inquiry as to the conditional use permit for this location. The applicant is here if you have any questions for this.
Okay. Fantastic. Do we have questions from the commission that we'd like to bring the applicant up for? It's not directly on Crestwood, correct? Okay,
Correct.
right off the corner.
And she has a lot of road straight ahead, so you come around the corner, but she's got plenty of room for pickup and drop off right there.
One quick question on the recommendations, item G,
Oh, did I?
is that a,
I might have not updated what I printed.
Ah.
So item G, she doesn't have a concrete pump truck, correct?
okay, even better now. Just was curious what kind of
Listen,
preschool we
guys.
were doing here. That's,
Let's talk about the situation for just a
I
minute.
thought that was the case, I just wanted to make sure.
did fix it, it just didn't update.
No problem.
Nice.
No, she doesn't have
That's
a
a
dump
good
truck, nor will she be doing concrete from her preschool.
Okay, that was my biggest question.
It's news for me, but no. Thank you for reading that out loud.
Okay. We have any other questions or discussion or proposals for a motion?
I have one question for the applicant. I just want to understand how they're going to manage drop-off and pickup to minimize congestion for the neighbors in the neighborhood.
So I've been looking at that time, and since it's from 9 to 11:30, there's no congestion, there's no cars, there's no students that are trying to go to school at the time or anyone trying to go to work. A lot of that ends around 8:30.
Okay,
So I haven't noticed that that would be an issue at all.
okay. But if it becomes one, you will
Then
work
I will talk
minimize
to,
it?
yeah, then I will talk to the
Stagger-
parents about it, yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
The neighbors would also let us know.
Yeah. I know all my
Good.
neighbors. I think they would tell me.
Good. Okay, that's my only question.
Okay.
Does anyone feel good enough about this? We want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit for a major B home occupation for Natalie Whittier at 433 North, 300 East.
I will second that.
Okay, and let's go ahead and start, Mike, with you for the vote.
Aye?
Aye?
Aye.
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 Okay, that passes. Great, so,
Oh, real quick, Natalie, you're free to go. I will send you, I think you still need to get the fire inspection. Once I've got that, I'll finish the approval of the license, but I'll send you a conditional use permit letter just showing what we discussed in it, so.
thank you. Our next item is a variance consideration for Nicholas Racker. And Katie, are you going to take us through that?
So here's an outline of how this hearing can go. And so I'll give the staff presentation, the applicant can come up and give a presentation, and then you'll have a chance to ask questions and to deliberate, and then make a motion on whether you'd like to approve or deny the variance. As I go through my presentation, I'm going to go through the 5 criteria that are given in Utah Code Section 10-20-1102. And each of these 5 criteria have to be met. We'll go through them one by one. And another thing the code says that I'd like you to keep in mind is that the condition for a variance cannot be for economic reasons, and it can't be self-imposed. So the standard is not whether the situation feels fair, it's not to help correct an error, it's not whether the variance will have a visual impact. The standard is whether the 5 criteria are met, each and every one of those criteria. Oh. No, you're good. I can sit over here. So the first criteria is literal enforcement of the ordinance would cause an unreasonable hardship that is not necessary to carry out the general purpose of the land use ordinances. We don't feel this application meets, meets this criteria because the applicant can use the property. There's a residence, there's an accessory structure, and not being able to connect the two with a breezeway to avoid inclement weather might be an inconvenience, but it's not a hardship. And needing to correct a contractor's error is a self-imposed condition and not an unreasonable hardship. Okay, next one. The second criteria is that special circumstances are attached to the property that do not generally apply to other properties in the same zone. The applicant points to the property being on a corner lot as a special circumstance. There are other corner lots in the zone. Corner lots have different setbacks from interior lots because they have different visibility and privacy issues. From the city's perspective, there are no special circumstances that are attached to this property that don't also apply to other properties in the zone. All right, excellent. Number 3, granting the variance is essential to the enjoyment of a substantial property right possessed by other properties in the same zone. All property owners in the zone have the right to extend a primary structure as long as setbacks are met. All property owners in the zone have the right to build an accessory building as long as the setbacks are met. All property owners in the zone can connect an accessory structure to a primary dwelling as long as setbacks are met. With a different design, this property could do any of these things. It might be expensive to start over with a new design, but a variance cannot be granted for a self-imposed condition or for economic reasons. Number 4, the variance will not substantially affect the general plan and will not be contrary to the public interest. I think on this one, the city could concede that this variance wouldn't have a substantial effect on the general plan, but we also argue that it is in the public interest to apply setbacks uniformly. And the last one, the spirit of the land use ordinance is observed and substantial justice done. Granting this variance would create an exception for a preferred design or to correct an error, but the spirit of the ordinance is to apply uniform setbacks. And because this application has not shown that the 5 criteria are met, staff recommends denying the variance.
Thank you, Katie. Can we have the applicant come up and address the commission?
Hi, I'm Nick Raker. As you guys, like most of you were here last time. So I think the staff report respectfully just has a few narrow points that aren't considered. Essentially, I'm asking for an 8.75 foot variance from the rear setback. Nothing else changes. The accessory structure is already built or under construction and already permitted, and it's at 21.25 feet. And it's not a design preference. It was the direct result of a construction defect. And see here in the original plan that I submitted to the building department, that was supposed to be just a level concrete slab with.
There's a pointer there too.
Oh, yeah. So.
I'll watch the batteries in it.
Let's see. It doesn't seem to be working. Oh, I can see it. It's just not. It's very. There you go. It's hard to see against the white there, but you can see here. This was supposed to all be level here, the garage area and the backyard here, and this was just going to be a little patio area, maybe an outdoor kitchen, just an area to hang out. But what happened, if you go to the next slide here, on April 20th, my concrete contractor notified me that they're in the middle of pouring the stem walls, that the driveway is going to be really steep and it wouldn't have passed code. So I went to my engineer to ask how to remedy this, because the steel structure itself had already been constructed and was just waiting in Salt Lake. He recommended dropping the floors 3 feet to correct the grading issue, but that created that sunken back area. So I contacted the building department. I talked to Jim Day, and and talked about different options I have for stopping that from just filling up with water. And Jim said you could cover it with a lean-to section there, but you'd have to connect it with a breezeway. And I was like, okay, so that's a possibility. He said, yeah, just give me the updated plans and we'll update it. Well, he called me back and said that someone in his office had looked into my zone, and my zone, instead of being a 15-foot setback like the houses behind me, it's residential agriculture and requires a 30-foot setback if I connect it. So he referred me to Ann, who said this should just be a simple rezone. Shouldn't be a problem since you border right next to a R120 lots, and that's the majority of them elsewhere in the neighborhood anyway. So that's when I filed the application for the rezones on May 4th, and then the Planning Commission voted 5-1 in favor of that, and it went on to the City Council. The City Council ultimately denied it 4-1, citing the precedence concerns, but that same concern doesn't seem to hold up historically. If you look at 1428 South Sunset, It was the exact rezone that we were asking for, residential agriculture to R120, in just a single spot zone. It wasn't even connected to any R120. But then if you go to the next slide, please. So this is where we're sitting currently. If you can see here, this area was supposed to be flush right here, and this whole patio was supposed to be flush here. But now we have these retaining walls to try to hold up the area, and there's nowhere for the water to drain besides this little slot drain, which would allow, you know, leaves and things and standing water potentially, and then also rodents like rats and mice to climb in and get into the rest of the structure. So if you can click to the next one, please. So there are other corner lots in the area, but there's roughly only about 44 residential agriculture lots in this area. They're surrounded by hundreds of R120 lots, and roughly 11 of them are corner lots. So so it's a minority of the lots in this area are subject to these corner lot conditions. If you click to the next one, please. So you know, we're not asking to change the building. The building's already there. We're just, you know, we're at 21.75 feet, and so we only need about 8 1/4 or 8 3/4 feet difference to be able to connect this here. So we're not moving it. It just connecting with the breezeway would allow it to be held against that stricter 30-foot setback, and so we really only need that 8.75 foot gap is really the only variance we're trying to ask for to correct this contractor error. And then if you could click to the next one. And it's not out of character for the street. As mentioned in the previous planning commission meeting, Mr. Hardy noted that this house right next door to me, it appears to be about like 6.5 feet or so. It's definitely less than 10 feet from the rear setback. And the one across from me is about the same distance as well. Definitely like they're you know, less than half of what my current setback at 21 1/4 feet would be. So it's not really out of character for the street. It wouldn't change the character of the street, and furthermore, it's right here. The breezeway would be right here, and the building is right here. So it's literally nobody could see it from either street. And if you could click to the next one, please. A gentleman, a neighbor of mine, mentioned that he's worried about his property values. You know, I would argue that, you know, if we're denied, we just have this 3-foot excavated space that's, you know, fall hazard for kids to fall into. It creates, you know, standing water issues, you know, rodents getting into the thing, and then it, you know, just reads as a permanently unfinished construction site. I would argue that would decrease the property values. You know, if the variance is granted, it's fully enclosed, the water is permanently directed over into another sunken area of my yard where it can safely evaporate. There's no visual changes from the street, and it's a finished cohesive structure instead of like a half-finished construction project. The next one, please. So what I'm asking the commission tonight, I just like you to evaluate the 5 statutory findings against the actual facts of the property, not you know, a hypothetical applicant seeking convenience for just the weather. You know, that it's a hardship created by the contractor's error, not my design choice. As I showed in the previous slides, I just wanted a nice flat patio area there, and now I'm stuck with this sunken hole I don't know what to do with. And you know, in regards to like the 5 prongs, you know, I agree that they need to be met. Especially in regards to prong 3, like the staff report frames this prong kind of narrowly. You know, noting that all property owners in this zone possess the same right to build within the applicable setbacks. I would ask the commission to consider a different framing of the property right of the issue. The right to remediate a genuine safety and drainage hazard on one's own property. Every property owner possesses that same right, and I'm simply asking to exercise it under the current setback requirement due to the circumstances out of my control that were a result of my contractor. And then there's also a section here, you know, we mentioned earlier with the general plan, how it's not seen from the street, and that there's other houses in our neighborhood that are closer than what I'm proposing. And then, you know, as far as prong 5, the spirit of the ordinance, and, you know, I believe that the requested ordinance is consistent with the spirit of the ordinance. It resolves a genuine documented hardship. It does not alter the character or visual impact of the neighborhood, does not convert the accessory structure into a living space, and I respectfully ask the commission to consider this additional context together with the staff report in reaching your decision. In terms of the legal standard that was cited, I recognize that Utah Code 10-20-1102 states that the commission has no discretion to grant a variance unless every statutory element is satisfied, but I do not ask the commission to disregard that standard. I only ask that each element be evaluated against the actual facts of the property currently. You know, the documented construction defect, a below-grade hazard with no feasible drainage remedy, and the minority corner lot condition within the zone, and a connecting structure that does not convert my accessory structure into a living space. Rather, you know, consider that rather than a hypothetical applicant seeking this purely for convenience. It's truly a hazard I'm dealing with just drainage and standing water or people falling into it. I believe that the record properly considered supports each of the 5 findings required. You know, so that's what I'm asking. And do you guys have any questions for me?
Mr. Ecker, I have a question. Can you explain to me, just for context, the important element of the breezeway? I mean, if you were to complete the project so it's not a hole, you know, it's not a danger, you know, what would be the concern of not having the breezeway connected?
When I talked to Jim Day, I asked if I could put just like a lean-to covering over the top to make it kind of like a shed, like a covered patio area, and so the water would shed away from the pit and over into my other part of my yard. But he said when you put a roof over it, even if it's open on the other sides, it is considered square footage, and so that would push me over the accessory limit square footage. That's when he recommended.
So the existing accessory building is at capacity for its square footage?
Yes, yeah, or pretty close, yeah. So it wouldn't have quite enough to be able to put a roof over the entire, that sunken section. And so that was his recommendation and how we got to this point.
Okay, and so it's not unfinished, the structure is there, complete?
Close, it's.
Minus this little
Yeah,
patio?
they're framing it right now, so, yeah, so it's still just framed. They haven't put any siding or roofing over it. They're still in the framing portion, but that rear section that I pointed out there is just a empty concrete hole, so.
Okay. Other questions from the commissioners?
Can I just see that picture again where you're talking about the rear section?
One more back, I think. One more, right there. This one?
So just get me in my directions. Can you explain the directions on this where,
Yeah,
where
so,
I would be?
So we're looking north. So Case Drive would be to the left here. And so the building itself goes right along here, if that makes sense. So between these two pedestals there, that's supposed to be a big garage door that would be able to be open to the patio here when this was all going to be flush. And so we're looking to the north here. This area right here, where it says breezeway here, this is my like covered patio. There you can see over on the right that little semicircular area. This is my covered patio here, and that would be the connected breezeway that you would see right here. Does that kind of make sense with their orientation?
So the area in front of the breezeway is the issue that you're having?
Correct, yeah, it's this rectangle with that slot drain there, because rats and mice can get through to this under the garage door to get in here. And I'm not so sure how this area will even drain with how well it will drain. I mean, they were supposed to put a little bit of a slant from the back here and to the sides here to help it drain in there, but it could still have some like standing water, mosquito issues potentially. And then animals can get underneath here.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to sound slow, but I'm not sure I totally understand how the breezeway rectifies the situation
So
where you have the retaining wall surrounding.
So the breezeway helps the situation in the sense that I could put a covering over that little rectangle there. If I just put a rectangle over this section right here, let's see, so the section right, you can't really, there you go. Okay, yeah. So if I put any sort of covering over here, like a patio covering or lean-to covering, that would be considered footprint, and it would push this structure over the allotted calculations for accessory building.
So the breezeway needs to be there so that it's counted as
It's part of the
primary
main
residence.
structure.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct,
Or an addition instead of an accessory.
Right.
correct. And then that's what triggered the 30-foot setback and triggered the whole
I see.
like cascade of events. So.
The city's code has provisions for accessory structures that they can only be a certain percentage of the lot area and or the building area. He's really close with what he's built at this point of coming up against that percentage limit. And if he puts a covering over that area that is the problem, then it pushes it over the percentage limit for an accessory building.
Exactly.
If he attaches it to the house with the breezeway, then it becomes part of the main structure. And that's not an
not a
issue then
limit,
any longer, right?
Okay, thank you for explaining that.
Mhm.
Other questions? Or do you want to deliberate and let the applicant have a seat? Specific questions?
Not for him.
Okay,
Thank you.
we'll let you sit down. All right, thoughts? Anyone want to jump in?
Katie, anything else you want to say or talk about? So, first of all, just to emphasize again, and Katie brought this up, state code requires that all 5 of these conditions have to be met in order for a variance to be granted. And we can talk about each one of those, even if we feel like he meets 2 or 3 or 4 of them. If any one of them we feel like is not being met, then it doesn't qualify for a variance. I personally see some issues on the hardship. One of the provisions there says that a hardship is not unreasonable if it is self-imposed. This is pretty much a classic example of a self-imposed hardship. Now, the applicant has said, it wasn't my fault, it was the contractor's fault. But who was the contractor working for?
They're one and the same.
It was working for the owner. And so at that point, I mean, that's your agent. That's you, in essence. So by allowing that to stand and not, for example, insisting that the contractor change it, it's self-imposed. So I see that being a problem right there, number one.
Well, and the other thing that I see there is the hardship, even if we said it wasn't self-imposed, is mainly an economic hardship. To rectify the situation would be costly.
Economic, right. And I can, throughout my career, I was certainly made aware of a number of situations where people had to correct situations where the building had taken place and it had not taken place according to code. And it was expensive to fix, and yet they had no choice. That's what the code said. That was the only thing they could do.
Unfortunately, it's not that uncommon for a contractor error to result in something that needs to be rectified, and the owner unfortunately has to make up that difference.
Right. it appears that a way to maybe alleviate that would be to change the rules. And I remember, gosh, what has it been, Mindy? A couple of years ago, we had somebody came in that wanted to do an addition onto the back of their house, but it projected into the yard requirement and the restriction, and everybody thought it was reasonable, but the rules didn't allow for it. So what we said was, well, go to the council and ask them to change the rules, because what you're asking for sounds like it might just be reasonable. That applicant did, and the council agreed to change. So in that case, then it became feasible. In this case, the applicant, the owner could have changed the zoning, which he attempted to do. He said, by changing the zoning, then he could meet the requirements and would be able to do what it was he intended to do. The Planning Commission even recommended in favor of that, but the council decided not to grant that. That's pretty much the final word. The council said, we're not going to change the rules. And so we're stuck with the rules that we have. As far as the second circumstance goes with not being, having the other rights that other properties in that same zone do, every property that's a corner lot has that restriction and those requirements. And there are a number of they're not all, obviously, but every corner lot, those provisions apply to. And I don't see that this is any different from other corner lots as far as how those provisions apply to that.
Doesn't seem terribly unique, even just in the percentage. I'm surprised that there's 11 in, 25% seems to me not terribly unique, but.
Yeah. The third one, granting the variance is essential to the enjoyment of the substantial property right possessed by other properties in the same zone. I would say other properties in the same zone have the same property rights, and they seem to be working just fine. So I don't see that this is, in order, that what the applicant is asking to do is outside of the rules that apply to other properties in the same zone. And so I don't see that that's trying to grant a substantial property right that's possessed by other properties. Other properties don't have that property right. That's not a right that they have according to the code. The other two are more subjective, and you could, potentially say, well, maybe, it's not necessary to affect the general plan and the spirit of the land use ordinance, but even if we felt for those last two provisions, yeah, we could see where that would work. I just don't see how it meets the first three.
Any opinions that are maybe contrary to that? Any other thoughts?
No, I agree with everything you said, and unfortunately don't believe that it meets all five
criteria.
requirements. And that's really what we're here to debate today. I sympathize with the applicant and
Certainly.
completely understand the position that they're in, and that it's unpleasant and painful, but given what we're asked to do today, I don't see a way to improve it.
I agree with that. Okay, I would be open to a motion if that's kind of the feeling of the commission.
I would make a motion that we deny the variance request for the applicant I'm sorry, I don't have the address right in front of me.
768.
Thank you. At 768 West Christopher Circle, based on the staff report, the staff analysis of the criteria that are required to be met under the state code, with the particular note with our discussion that we do not see that certainly the first three requirements are not met.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Megan. Let's start here with the voting.
Yes. Aye.
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 Okay, so that is a denial for the variance for Mr. Racker. And I'm sorry to say, that is the result tonight. I hope you do find a solution that will work out for your family. Our next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Anyone have a chance to review minutes?
Motion to approve. Minutes of August 13th.
Okay, shall we vote all in unison?
I'll second.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Mike. And for the vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, Mindy.
Oh, man. Brad starts on Monday, so super excited about that. He's coming in tomorrow to get his desk all set up, so he's ready to start things first 8 o'clock on Monday morning. I've reached out to you guys regarding the APA. I've got a couple who wanted to go. If I can get 3 or more, I get a discount, no pressure. It's right here in Layton, super close, so it should be convenient if you want to do 1 day or 2 days, depending on what you want to do there. It looks like there's a lot of really good things coming. Are you a part of any of the planning or speaking or?
For the APA conference, I'm not going to be in town.
Oh, yeah, are you going to be like
I noticed
Tanzania or
Brad is going to be on it. He has
Oh, yeah, that could well be, yeah.
He has a
Oh.
presentation.
Well, God, we should just go for that, right? Go support.
Remind me the dates.
Was it
It's
8th
the
and
8th and
10th and 11th.
10th and 11th.
9th and 10th.
Or is it? I thought it was
Yeah,
Thursday
it's
and
coming up.
Friday.
9th and 10th.
I think it's Wednesday,
Is that
Thursday.
Wednesday, Thursday?
Yes, that is.
Wednesday,
Is that what it is?
Thursday.
I'm trying to think of anything else. I don't know.
No, I would just maybe quickly just want to note something. So on our detached accessory dwelling unit recommendations that we made to the council, council's had a discussion. My understanding is they're going to have a work meeting on Friday. Is that right?
Next week.
And so they're going to, and Jason's put together a great matrix of all of the various issues and the recommendations and the requirements and so on. It's a really good matrix. There are a couple of things on there that, or that are not on there that we maybe want to encourage the council to consider. And I think, that'll happen from the staff level, but it wouldn't hurt for that maybe to come from us as well. One of the provisions is, and I'm going to point to Mike a little bit as well, situations where we do, as every community does, have properties that are oddly shaped. They have different numbers of sides. They're not rectangular or square or round or whatever, and they're odd. And it's really hard to figure out exactly what's the side yard, what's the front yard, how does all of that work, and then how can something like an ADU fit into that. And maybe what we need to do is to encourage maybe a provision to be included in there that allows for some discretion for oddly shaped properties.
That's nice.
And however that would be, whether we, allow staff to review that or whether we bring it to the
Bring it
planning
through.
commission for review or something like that. But something for oddly shaped properties, if that really becomes difficult to figure out how to fit one in, that maybe there's some means to allow for that to be looked at. There's also a provision in our accessory structures code, which says that, well, it's partly accessory structures, but it also relates to what are called main structures in our code. And a main structure is defined, a dwelling, anything that's a dwelling is considered to be a main structure. And if it's a main structure, it has to have 20-foot side yards if it's a certain setback. An ADU is going to be considered a main structure. A detached ADU will be considered, because it's a dwelling. But if it has to have those 20-foot setbacks on each side, which is what the code currently requires for accessory structures, or for all main buildings, then we may not be able to allow a number of accessory dwelling units because they wouldn't meet that provision. And so that might kind of stymie the intent of what the whole ADU code or ordinance is about. So
Yeah.
may want to take a look at that and maybe modifying that provision for ADUs specifically.
So even if it's detached, it's going to be considered a main
A main structure.
structure. You have two main structures.
Mhm. Yeah,
And then we kind of lose all of the
we lose a lot of
zoning
flexibility.
or the ordinance for the ADU because it falls under the
Yeah,
main structure.
that provision in our code.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't either until it was pointed out to me by somebody just not long ago, and you look at that and you think, oh, wow, yeah.
Hmm.
That could affect the ability to put some ADUs on, probably on a number.
But those setbacks are there for, I mean, they do protect character in
They
the
do.
neighborhood, so.
Mhm.
I think
That's why you want to be
I
careful.
think you want to be careful adjusting them,
I
but I think
agree.
you bring a valid
You
point.
do want to be careful on that. Yep, absolutely. Mike, I don't know if you want to raise anything about the oddly shaped structures, or lots, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes from a conversation I had with somebody who was asking and is looking at building a detached unit, and their house is 200 feet off the road. But because of the shape, they're on a cul-de-sac, and the shape, the spot that they were looking at would probably be considered the front yard, even though, you know, the house doesn't exactly face the, you know, and so it falls into that kind of vague definition of like what's a front yard, what's a side yard, where, you know, where does each one stop and start, and you know, just that idea of having some flexibility, but that's also kind of a can of worms, right? You know, when you start to play. So I meant to look into like maybe what some other cities have done, and you know, if there were already some examples out there, but
Interesting. Great.
Just a recommendation.
Yeah, there's some
Yeah.
good feedback.
and
To
I would,
share.
yeah, if we don't talk
City
about it
council.
between now and like October, or whatever, that's fine. But there might be citizens who would come forward and be like, hey, you know, here's, and so you know, I don't think we're going to get it all right, all done, you know, the first time. But that could be something that comes up later if we don't talk about it now. So either way.
Great. Okay.
All right, other than that, our next meeting is September 10th. And as of right now, all we have is a conditional use permit for another preschool coming through, which are great. I love that there's uses for our homes, and it's a great use for the community. So once Brad gets here, I've got a list of things to hand off to him and let him see what we've all been working on, and I think we're in good shape. So Katie's pulled us through. I think she's ready to not be part of community development anymore, so. She's like, not you again, so we've been good.
Good job, you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for
It's
carrying.
been good. So, yeah, other than that, if you're wanting for the APA, that's great. If not, we'll see you guys September 10th, and if there's anything else, let us know, and we'll keep you posted on how the meeting goes on next Friday, and then it will go to City Council a couple of weeks, because City Council is next week. They meet on Friday, and then it will be still 2 more weeks before the
Do anything.
conversation on those daddies comes back up, so.
Okay. All right, thanks so much. Shall we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Excellent.
So, after the first one?
Diving in the deep end, right?
Yeah.